Hello, good morning. Happy New Year. Well, it started off okay. When I woke up, I discovered I was still alive. Um, but I went outside to wash a pot under the outside tap before I brought it in to be properly scrubbed. And I was greeted by one of my wonderful neighbours, Not. And he and his mother, a young guy, probably, I don't know, maybe 30, decided that he would have a verbal abuse at me over digging the trench for a boundary wall, which has been planned probably for, I'd say, the last 3 years at least. But we never really got round to it. But I got sick and tired of having to cut back twigs that had been put in the ground here and had taken root and really become almost like a great big tree on the boundary line. So I got the guys to dig it out. I'd got an estimate from the local supplier of hollow blocks. The guys who were going to do the labour got a price from them, gave them the contract to dig the trench out, which is what they duly did. We kept within the boundaries of the legal survey peg that were put on the plan and put in the ground to indicate the boundary, and proceeded with I'll call it a fishing line between the 2 points so that we could see to navigate a straight line, or what you can do by hand digging. And the next stage was to pour the foundations, put the Rio bar in, and proceed with the wall. But no, nothing's ever simple in the Philippines, or come to it, the biggest problem that many people have is boundary disputes. Something I was not looking to have. Quite straightforwardly, we employed a registered surveyor to survey the property before we even built. So therefore we have survey plans, and the points of interest were highlighted on the plan and also indicated by, on one end there is a concrete nail in a wall, and on the other end there is what they call a monument. It is a round piece of concrete with PS written on it, and it's designed, as I was told by the surveyor, the middle of that round circular piece of concrete is the legal defined boundary, and therefore if you build over it onto another person's property, of course they have the right then to ask you to remove anything that you constructed on their property. It's covered under the Philippines. There are acts and legislation in place, quite clearly checked out on the internet before I even started to dig. You're also given the opportunity to temporarily stand on the land not owned by yourself to enable you to construct the wall. Mainly in the case of maybe wanting to render the side that you're not looking at. But legally also, you're not allowed, if it's on your property, to affix anything to your wall. That doesn't just apply here in the Philippines, it also applies overseas. Hence, you have a person wants to build right up on the boundary, they build literally up to the edge of your wall, maybe your house or your wall. But they have to construct anything that they construct onto it. And if they are to put foundations underneath the soil, they are required to get your permission. Often in the case in England, it's called a party wall agreement. And proceeding with my little story for this wonderful 1st of January, this young guy decided that he would be Arnold Schwarzenegger, both with mouth and with vigor. And he invited me to have punch-up with him to settle the matter. Really? Why would I want to do that? And I did remind him that I'm 76, and I said, I would say you must be about 30, being not very good at judging ages here. But I said, you are 30 and you want to have a punch-up with a 76-year-old foreigner? Really? You're talking about respect, and that's how you show it? But he pointed out that who knows nothing about the story of the history of the fence line. When his father was alive, there were discussions about the boundary. In fact, the father was there when the surveyor was there to see what was going on. I don't think to necessarily challenge anything, but just to see what was going on. He seemed a very nice man. But unfortunately, he's passed away. And it's left now to the heirs of the property, be it his mother and maybe his grandparents. But the message here I'm saying is that, as we all know, boundary issues can get out of hand. In the Philippines, when it involves a foreigner or a foreigner involvement in property, I agree that it's probably better to let your wife do the dealings, or the owner of the property do the dealings with the neighbour. But if you follow all of the regulations, even though you might follow them all, and try and fastidiously ensure that nothing is breached, inevitably you're always going to have somebody who will get hot under the collar because they want to show their dominance over you, being the foreigner. How dare you come to our country, tell us how to do things? I'm not coming here to tell them how to do anything. I'm making common sense issues. That is, if you have a dispute, there are avenues you follow. And I have followed them. I went to the barangay and I believe we sorted out the issue. But no, it's festered away. And today he actually offered, maybe he said, maybe we will pay half. And I said, no, it's in our intention to build it on the property here, not on your property. And I said that when we get to the level of the ground with the hollow blocks, we will immediately backfill against those hollow blocks on your property with the dirt that we've taken out of the hole. We're only talking 2 or 3 inches worth of dirt, down maybe 2 feet. So you have to ask yourself, why does somebody get so hot under the collar for what appears to be such a petty issue? If anything, I would be saying to the neighbour, I see you dug your trench. When do you plan on actually putting the wall up? Because maybe we need to look at putting a temporary fence up to stop our animals going onto your property. Now, I would have thought that that would be the best way to approach it. But, of course, we're in the Philippines, and they will be thinking in Filipino, and they will be dealing with things the only way they know how. And it's not for me to tell you how they will do it. But there are people that have had disputes with their neighbours, and their wives have tried to resolve them. But they've ended up into some pretty sticky situations, getting even into violence. And that's the last thing anybody would want here in the Philippines. So that's why it's always a good idea to employ others to do the work, others to survey it, and to have the legal documents to support your location of the situation. It may well be a case of getting the surveyor back again and paying him to establish more visually where those boundaries actually reside. Maybe that is the best option, because then the neighbour can talk in their own language to their surveyor, and if they have a dispute with the surveyor, then it's not with the owner of the property. So, drama, more drama, and more drama as we head into the blue yonder here in the Philippines. Will I let it worry me? Probably not. What will probably more than likely happen is nothing will happen. So not only have they put the kibosh on any goodwill that might have been between the two of us, that I thought was there, they've ended up with a situation where it will be a festering situation, because you're not allowed to put trees on a boundary unless it's agreed by both parties, because the roots of the tree will go underneath and possibly damage your own property. You're required to have a step back. I believe it's 1,200, 4 feet. And these particular people, I don't think necessarily understand that. So it would be interesting to see the end result. It might be fair to say that for 5,000-6,000 pesos, to resolve it by putting the initial foundation in as quickly as possible, and getting it up above the land so that there is no future dispute where the wall will continue to be constructed. At our pleasure, we don't have to construct it at any particular pace of the neighbour's wish. It has to be done, if it's on our property, at our own time and opportunity. So I do hope that you might have learned a lesson here, like I have. You can think your neighbour likes you. You can think your neighbour is a good neighbour. But when you start living in a place and for 10 years, like I have, you also hear so many stories about different neighbours, how they have little feuds with each other. And they're probably often over minor issues such as this, where of course the young son thinks, or the young daughter feels they have some God-given right to be the spokesperson for everything their parents need to establish. But by getting a registered surveyor in, one would hope that there shouldn't be any future issue on the boundary. So if you like this video, continue watching for updates and hopefully a resolution of what is clearly lack of understanding by some people as to what you want to achieve here for the benefit of all. And may January 2 be as exciting as January 1 is for you. Bye now.